There is hidden treasure in so many places. When my grandfather passed away, we sold the men's clothing store that he owned. Our family went to the store and started packing up the inventory. Suddenly, we came across an envelope of cash, and then another. Turns out that on days when my grandfather closed the store too late to go to the bank, he put that day's cash earnings in an envelope between the shirts, sweaters, whatever. Only as he got older, he started to forget about them. The envelopes had dates written on them, and some were old. He had all this money. Okay, it wasn't tons, so let's all relax. But he never knew. We hear stories like this: money found in an old couch and returned to a previous owner, mistakenly filed away with papers people didn't think they needed, and when it's found, that feel-good news story. Really, in some fashion, this happens to many of us. We have unknown treasure. Torah is described as the inheritance of the children of Jacob. That's us. We're his children 3,000 or so years later. When someone gets told they have a part in someone's will or a check found in between some old papers, they get it as fast as possible. Well, Jacob's will was given to his children, the Jewish people. You don't even need a lawyer. He taught his children, who taught their children, who hired a teacher to teach their children. It's our gift now. Some of us know some Torah and some know less, but there is so much wisdom for us all to take. There are two major elements to learning this Torah wisdom. The first is knowledge. Jews have always learned Torah as a way of acquiring knowledge, how to keep Shabbat, laws of business ethics, interest and torts, for example. There's an interesting debate in the Talmud. Which is greater, learning or actions? One opinion says actions, because it's all about what you do, how you behave. The other opinion says learning, because we're commanded to learn, so it must be important. The group conclusion? Both. Learning when it brings to action. We're inspired to keep learning so we know what to do and how to do it best. Torah study deepens the meaning and understanding of Jewish beliefs and practices. It provides the language of Jewish discourse, which then allows learners of all types to shape our own personal Jewish narrative. First type of learning, for knowledge. The second element of learning Torah, wisdom. It's much more than knowing a sophisticated list of do's and don'ts. Torah means way of life, literally way of life. There are many avenues to learn information and gain knowledge. Torah is unique because it communicates the ultimate truth. Truth about God, truth about the world, and most important, truth about how God wants people to live in the world. The deepest truths. That's why we often learn, and it resonates so deeply. We learn in esoteric Kabbalistic sources that God wrote the Torah first and used it as the blueprint for creating the world. Torah is the blueprint for creation, and learning it can be a deeply spiritual experience of connecting to the infinite. Mount Sinai revealed God connecting to Israel, and the Torah became Israel's way of connecting to God, to spirituality. Studying Torah is to have a conversation with the creator of the universe. Torah study is holy beyond the holiness found in the words of the text. Jews study Torah because learning brings us closer to the divine, closer to knowing and understanding our souls, our deepest selves. Learning Torah wisdom is embedded in Jewish tradition and elevated to a sacred, holy status. One of the first blessings of the morning is a blessing of a commandment to study Torah. We're commanded to learn, and we appreciate that. This is followed by a second blessing, appreciating God giving us the Torah, commanding us to learn Torah, and secondly, forgiving us the Torah. What does this second blessing add? So the first is on the first type of learning, a blessing about acquiring knowledge, the commandment to achieve Jewish competency in a mature and relevant way. The second blessing takes us back to Mount Sinai, with a desire to re-experience the spirituality, the experience of Torah. Just as we were all at Mount Sinai, every day God taps each of us on the shoulder and says, "Come with me. I want to show you the deepest spiritual connections." In today's world, we're bombarded by industrialization, urbanization, mass social mobility, technology, communication. Our lives require making more changes more often. Our occupations, station in life, family situations, cultural environment, we are constantly trying to adapt to the complex mental demands of modern life and to be flexible. When reacting to all of these changes and social instability, it's not unusual for people to ask deep questions about their life choices, to search for a clearer understanding of who we are, where we belong, what sort of lives we should lead. And we search for meaning. We have to turn to new Torah learning experiences. These will help us to acquire new ways of knowing, new ways of spiritual personal development. Jewish teachings offer us confidence to respond to the demands, stresses, frustrations, and even tragedies that we might encounter in life. Learning Torah wisdom is an essential act of Jewish self-expression, and we each connect differently because we relate to the world in different ways. Torah is like a wisdom buffet. Some of us will pick up and focus more on the laws, some of us the ethics, and some on philosophy. You can buy or borrow books, take an in-person class or an online one, find a personal tutor, or learn with a friend. I'd love for you to be in touch and share something you've learned that has touched you. The treasure is our inheritance, your inheritance for the taking, each one of us in our own unique way of connecting with the deepest of truths.